The following podcast is an Enticing Media production.
Where the Nell have you been? Join us for conversation about life, business, and everything in between. Welcome to What the Nell, where we've got stories to tell. Here's your host, Nell Tice.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the What the Nell podcast, the EcoPreneur's Edge edition, with my guest co-host, Mikee Benz. Welcome back, Mikee. I'm so happy to be recording with you again today.
Thank you, Nell. I'm so happy to be here. I am enjoying this series. I hope all the listeners are as well, and all the people watching are enjoying our crazy antics. For those who don't know me, I'm Mikee with two E's. The two E's in my name stand for the environment and everyone. Those are the two things that I care about most. I'm an eco-friendly salon owner and dance studio owner in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And my mission for this series is to help share the knowledge that I've gained in environmental sustainability and business sustainability and bring them together in an amazing series called the EcoPreneur's Edge.
I love it. I love this. And today we are definitely focusing on environmental sustainability with a side of business sustainability. I know we touched on that in the last episode, but I think the appropriate question to get started with is, what sparked your interest in environmental sustainability?
So, a long, long time ago, when dinosaurs were roaming the earth.
Shout out to the dinos.
Yes. A long time ago, as I was getting into my young adulthood and finding my path and career, I went to beauty school, and that allowed me to really start thinking about the products that we put in and on our bodies. And I found myself having a conversation with my spouse about what we were eating to fuel our bodies. And he brought it to my attention that some of the things that we were doing as broke college kids, if you will, were probably not setting us up for long-term success. We were living in a studio apartment. We had our bedroom right in our living room. We had a tiny little bathroom, and then we had a stove, a sink, and like 2 cabinets in our studio. And
Sounds like classic New York City living.
It was right in the heart of downtown Harrisburg, so I guess that's as close as we can get. But we were making some frozen corn. And, say what you will about corn, it was what we had. It was, a cheap, affordable alternative to some other, perhaps better vegetables. But he brought up the point that there are crazy things going on with our food, like genetic modification, herbicide resistance, and herbicides being put on our food, pesticides, trying to keep all of our beautiful bumblebees away from the flowers. And it kind of led us into this research period of way, way back in the day when these agricultural biotech companies, specifically one that comes to mind is Monsanto, when they were making it aware to our government and trying to get their patents passed and their regulations certified, that they were doing things that could potentially be beneficial, but the science hadn't been tested. No one really knew any long-term, side effects, positive or negative. And there was a lot of money and lobbying being thrown around. And fast forward, this was all happening in the late 70s, early 80s. I remember seeing a video clip of the first President Bush touring the company of Monsanto and touting how amazing the benefits of genetic modification would be in the future, which still remains to be seen. Yeah, and it just got me thinking. I am such a fan and advocate for the scientific process. I love coming up with a hypothesis, testing it over and over, evaluating my results, knowing whether my theory is becoming correct or if I need to go back and reevaluate and change one thing, not 2 or more things.
Right.
But if I need to change one thing and go forward. And in this process, I didn't see them evaluating their results on a long-term scale of what they were doing in the genetic modification in the plants. And also, I didn't see them testing what the herbicide and pesticide effects on nature or us ingesting the food was going on. So then they were just like, all right, we don't know what this is, and we're going to put it out to the market. In 1994, they put out the first genetically modified tomato, and it actually was a little bit more resistant to mold, mildew, and things that kind of make our tomatoes soggy and icky. But it had been genetically modified. They spliced tobacco genes into the tomato.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
And that was the first instance of GMO food being put into our food supply without our consent, and even worse, without our knowledge. And that just really put me on, it didn't make me happy, number one, and it started me down a path of looking into large companies, large governments' corruption, and how they believe that they know better than we do about what goes in and on our bodies. Fast forward to today, I am so mindful about what I put in my body. I have done like a decade almost of research at this point on what ingredients are, how they're made, and what they do when they enter into our body. There's a lot of things that sound kind of scary. Like a great product in my hairline that I use in my salon is hydrolyzed insert something protein. Silk, wheat, rice. This means, it sounds like hydrolyzed rice protein, sounds like something that could be a little scary, but it just means that it's turned into a water-soluble ingredient that then is absorbed on us once it's mixed with our body chemistry. So there's no adverse reactions happening there, and when it washes down the drain, when we go to get a shower and shampoo our hair, it has no adverse effect on the environment. Sounds scary, but then there's things like formaldehyde and glyphosate that we could put in or on our bodies. Those are not so great. So I have done like all of this research to figure out kind of what I want to utilize in my life, and then how many other things people are unaware of, and two, these large organizations, governments, and agencies are trying to push upon us without our knowledge. So that was my long-winded story.
I mean, but rightfully so, because it truly is a process. And they will say, I first sparked interest in the environmental aspect of what I was doing and consuming when I still lived in Maryland, and I was living with a roommate at the time, and I worked at a very fancy schmancy steakhouse in downtown Ellicott City, Maryland. And, we were serving really, really high quality foods. And I was starting to get a sense what high quality meant when it comes to food, because I was living the broke college student lifestyle too, and Kraft mac and cheese was the name of the game. And, you do what you can afford. And, I was starting to get a sense of paying more attention to what foods should taste like and should be like. And eventually it became very apparent to me that higher quality meant better ingredients. And so I started sourcing some organic foods and produce and buying meat from natural stores. Now, natural then versus natural now is very different as well. But I like to say that I was doing organic before organic was cool. So I started buying, it became very important to me that, okay, this is one thing I can't budge on, because I want to eat high quality things, because I believe that our beauty and everything, our health, is all created from the inside out. And yes, obviously, our skin is the most absorbent organ that we have. And the products that we put on our bodies are just as important. So I became very interested in that as well in the process. But it sparked something in me to start doing my own research. And I started understanding that maybe what we were being told isn't what is actually happening, or we're being persuaded or manipulated in some ways. And I started to read more about Monsanto and Roundup and all of the things that we were being told to do in our lives in society. And I thought, for some reason, I don't think the government has our best interests at heart in regards to humanity. And then I started thinking, all right, this is now something that's non-negotiable in my life. So it spiraled from there into some, what my husband would call, weird things found in our refrigerator. But I smother myself in beef tallow every day because, it's the circle of life.
That sounds like it needs to be a TikTok series in its own right. Weird things found in my refrigerator.
I think you're right about that.
No, I love that. And there's just so much to talk about in this. Concerning Monsanto, I found the organizer of the March Against Monsanto, which started, I want to say it was like 2010-ish when that started. And it grew into a thing around 2012, 2013. And I found the people who were heading up the Harrisburg chapter, and they were going through young adulthood things too. They didn't have time or organizational skills to do what was needed for a local activism push. And I offered my time and talents to that. And they were just like, well, we're going to give it all to you. So I hosted 8 rallies at the Capitol.
Oh my
which
gosh.
fizzled out. The first one I remember was just so much. The second one, great group of people. The third one, I noticed some steam starting to get lost. And then over the course of the next 4 or 5 that I hosted, it fizzled out to just me and 2 other people who showed up for the last one. So I was like, well, we can make this a digital cause.
Sure.
But then I also had activism burnout and was like, well, no one wants to support me anyway. So what am I even doing here? It's okay. I took the fight to other places, like my salon, word of mouth marketing and stuff like that. So and I still have the Facebook page. So if anyone wants to like that, it's March Against Monsanto Harrisburg. And I would love to get that to be more active now that everybody had their exodus from social media and now it's coming back to Facebook. So I would love to get more activity and local networking done. There's some great people in this central Pennsylvania area. I know Susan Love in Lancaster, Zoe Swartz, who was doing GMO-free Lancaster County and a few other things. And then there's Moms Across America, which I think is headed up by a few people in Lancaster, specifically Karen Schumann Stark comes to mind.
Okay.
But I would love to get the old gang back together with a whole bunch of new faces. Monsanto, which is no longer Monsanto because, fun fact, it got bought by Bayer.
Look at that.
There's speculation, and with everything in this topic, there's speculation because, as you were saying, you bought USDA organic things. We realize natural doesn't mean natural, especially when it comes to labeling. The conspiracy theories, if you will, that opened up as I was going down this rabbit hole of what should I put in and on my body are second to none.
Yes.
But it kind of shook my faith because I was like, if our government, and this talks about a whole different thing too, because our government, I think, does the best that it can with the tools that it has available for a literal gigantic population. Sometimes I can't even make a decision for myself. I don't know how I'm supposed to make a decision for 315 million people.
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
So at the end of the day, my belief is that people are just doing the best that they can with the tools and education and knowledge available at the time of whatever. As we go forward, we should be getting better, not worse. That's my belief.
Yes.
But the USDA organic label, I have questioned a few times. I'm like, do people in the government actually care what I'm putting in or on my body?
Very valid question.
At this point in my life, I just have to believe in something. So I feel like out of everything that's available, and there are many great labeling alternatives to USDA organic, and there are plenty of great companies that I have seen firsthand or have gotten to know through social media or just kind of intuited seed companies, vegan companies, beauty care companies. I believe that they are doing what they say that they're doing. But the USDA organic is our most vetted, strongest tool utilized by the most people. So I try to believe that the USDA organic label means something. vegan certified means something. All of those things do mean something. But
Sure.
there's always that little question in the back, like, well, if our president is going to these companies that I don't necessarily align with, and then putting people in the FDA to approve these, and the amount of lobbying money that goes into these approvals, and then where they get placed on future cabinets and administrations, it's like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to stay informed.
Yes. And that's the biggest part of it, is being able to stay informed and doing your own research. And I absolutely agree with you. Over the years, my inquisitory nature of the USDA organic label came into question so many times, because I worked in the food and beverage industry. And I eventually worked into the quality assurance space. So I was conducting audits with the Pennsylvania Department of Agriculture for our third-party organic certification. Now, the costs associated with being organically certified, at least in the state of Pennsylvania, are astronomical. So so many small businesses can't even afford that label, even if they are following the practices that are required for the certification. So it's important to remember that. And that's why I also believe in knowing where you're getting your products from, knowing your farmers, and knowing where you're getting all of your products that you are consuming. And I think there are definitely a lot of politics involved in the actual USDA organic labeling. And I think that the organic movement, really more so than just actually being there and being available, showed me that there is an interest in the general public to know where their products are coming from and what is going on our bodies, because I do think that so many people feel like they've been lied to. Would you agree?
I do agree. Since I started looking into it, I don't remember anyone talking about what I was talking about or what I was researching at that time. And now it's almost like the amount of awakening I've seen in people that I've helped find this research, and the people who have come to me I've never known, like a first-time hair client who's like, Mikee, I was reading your website and it's really cool, the products you use and your 2 E's in your name, and all these things that I was researching about you, and let me share my experience. And I'm like, wow, you're way ahead of any person I've had to who is a newbie to this.
Yeah.
So thank you for doing your own research on your own time and becoming involved in this mission, if you will, without me needing to lead you there. Because sometimes I felt like I was just like, one person, I was going to grab your hand and pull you in. Next person, I was like, this is so slow. I'm never going to get anything accomplished in one single human lifetime.
So what are some ways that you feel businesses could be more sustainable for the environment?
So I think your point about knowing your farmers, knowing your local agriculture, is so imperative, because there are a lot of people, and then I have a certified organic garden that's nowhere near able to be certified because I can't afford the literal, I don't have the time to jump through all the hoops, and I don't have the money to pay for the people who will come out to make me jump through all the hoops. I know that there are great gardeners in my own neighborhood, actually. Like if I were to walk outside, there's a house, like 5 houses that way that I know that I could go, buy food from. They have chickens in their backyard, which I'm such a fan and advocate for. I know people like 6 houses that way. I do know there are great farms in the central Pennsylvania area. Spiral Path usually is the number one that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
They have a great CSA program, but knowing those people, were I to go into business trying to manufacture maybe a hair care line, I would go to them to source my ingredients, even if they don't have the USDA labeling. Not Spiral Path does, but a bunch of the smaller ones don't. I would go to them to source my hydrolyzed wheat protein, hydrolyzed rice protein, or whatever I needed. So that's number one, knowing our local economy. And number 2 is just finding a mentor, maybe reaching out to somebody who's already doing what you would like to be doing. And and if you do that and you want to go on this journey, giving up the time that you spend doing other things that maybe aren't as valuable to our long-term business and health sustainability, and doing the research to find companies that are aligned with your beliefs, your missions, because trust me, they're out there. You might have to look in Denmark or Pakistan or the Philippines, but they are out there.
Yes.
And then I'm just going to share the thing that got me into this whole process was a list called the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. And I actually was able to find an updated 2024 version of this. So the Dirty Dozen are the food ingredients, the food products, if you will, that are most likely to be genetically modified, sprayed in pesticides, and sprayed in herbicides. And if you don't know, a pesticide is a chemical solution that is designed to keep insects away, and an herbicide is a chemical solution that is designed to keep weeds and other things out of the plot where they're growing what they want to be growing. None of those are needed because unless it's an extreme case of like a plague of locusts, or the person growing hasn't done their due diligence in maintaining the soil and hiring effective and ethical labor to weed the gardens, basically, those herbicides and pesticides are not needed. And there is statistical data that says we can support a population. Hang on one second. Lots of talking here. There's statistical evidence that says organic farming with no GMO, no pesticides, no herbicides can support a global population of up to 12 billion with current practices. Not including, if we get better, we could probably feed more people organically than 12 billion. But we have 8 billion, a little bit over 8 billion people on the earth now. We could feed them all organically if we put our minds and bodies and labor and everything to it. Getting back to the Dirty Dozen, these are the top 12 foods that you always want to look for your natural or certified organic labeling on. Mm-hmm. And number 1, strawberries. That's probably the worst, and people eat a lot of strawberries.
Oh, yeah.
2, spinach. 3, kale, collard, and mustard greens. 4, grapes. 5, peaches. 6, pears. 7, nectarines. 8, apples. 9, bell and hot peppers. 10, cherries. 11, blueberries, and 12, green beans. So if you at home eat any of those are probably putting pesticides, herbicides, and genetically modified byproducts into your system, which can live in our system for a long time.
Yes.
Switch to organic for just those. If you go home and you're like, I need to do one change today to make sure I'm not consuming all of these things, those are the 12 things that you want to get organic. And then there's also the Clean 15, and these are the ones who usually have the lowest amount of pesticides, herbicides, and genetic modification.
Yeah.
Carrots, sweet potatoes, mangoes, mushrooms, watermelon, cabbage, kiwi, honeydew melon, asparagus, sweet peas, papaya, onions, pineapple, sweet corn. However, sweet corn has a caveat because it is the number 1 largest genetically modified ingredient. So these are mostly dealing with the pesticides and herbicides. Sweet corn, you probably always want to get from a local farmer who doesn't use those things, or get USDA certified organic sweet corn. And then avocados.
Yes.
So if you eat those, they're usually safe. The number 2 genetically modified crop in the world is soybean.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, that's got to mean soy is next on the list. And my gosh, I mean, we being in central Pennsylvania, especially this time of year, we have the luxury of having access to some beautiful sweet corn. And there's nothing I love more than doing what I call my Saturday morning farm tour, where I go to 2 different farms to buy all of my meat, my dairy, and my produce. And they always have this big, luxurious selection of sweet corn, whether it's bicolor or white or yellow or whatever. And it's nature's treat in the middle of the summer. It's just so amazing. And I think actually it wasn't until I moved to this area that I had an appreciation for it. So I think a lot of your mindset and that type, your interest in that comes from where you live too. I lived right outside of Baltimore. A dozen sweet corn when I was still living there, I mean, this was 20 years ago now, was $12, which is horrendously expensive. But I didn't know that at the time. That's what I had access to. And I didn't buy it because it was expensive. So, that has a lot to do with it too. But thank you for giving us the list. I mean, that's amazing. And I think that people really need to understand and start there, because you don't have to go all in right now, but start there, because those are the most affected pieces of the puzzle, I guess.
I remember how overwhelmed I felt when I was starting this journey. Mm-hmm. I still feel overwhelmed sometimes too. But when I started, had somebody who had come before not created the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15, I don't know that I would have had the gumption, if you will, to go down this path. Yeah. So thank goodness for that. And I felt compelled to share that. If somebody literally has never heard this information before, the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15 is like the number one place to start where it's manageable.
Yes, absolutely. And then obviously we can go from there. And if anyone has any questions or, just wants to know a little bit more, I mean, we're both easily accessible and have gained so much knowledge over the years and how to approach this and feel a little less overwhelmed. But I agree. I'm there with you. I feel like every day I'm like, I have to make choices. Where should I make these choices? And oh my gosh, is this on that list? And there's a lot. So we're here to help make it easier.
Yes, we are.
Absolutely.
Oh, I think my camera lost focus. Hello, camera.
Hi, camera.
There we go. Sometimes I just gotta tell it to talk to the hand.
Absolutely. I love it.
But if you need to find me, I'm at Metro Mikee on all platforms. And as you all know, the two E's in my name stand for the environment and everyone. So I'm here to help guide your journey if you care about the environment or your fellow humans.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Mikee. I think this is a great place to wrap this up. And we'll continue the conversation, of course, in the next episode. So thank you for being here, Mikee. And thank you for all of you, the listeners, for tuning in. Don't forget, we are on YouTube now. So make sure you watch the video, like it, and subscribe to the channel. And leave us a review on your favorite audio platform. That's how we grow here at the What the Nell podcast. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
To learn more about how to tell your story, connect with Nell at enTICEingmedia.com. That's ENTICEING media.com. Thanks for listening to the What the Nell podcast.